On today's show, Luka and the Slovenians end their Olympic bid in brutal fashion. We will break it all down. So much stuff with Luka. We'll get into it. And we got somebody else to talk about.
Lauri Markkanen, Dallas Maverick.
Would you make a trade? Maxi for Lauri Markkenen. Dorian for Lauri Markkenen. What would you send to get Lauri Markkenen? We'll talk about that on today's Locked On Mavs.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com, the Olympic elevator, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
What a ride. What a ride for Slovenia. It was so much fun. I feel like we said this the other day. We kind of said the goodbye the other day because they, obviously lost the game going into the possible gold medal game, but they obviously played, Australia for bronze. Didn't work out. Patty Mills happened, but it was just, I know I said this the other day. I want to say it again if you didn't listen to the other day's pod or Friday's pod. Thank you so much. Like, it was so much fun for Nick, myself, so many Mavericks fans here around the world just to hop on that bandwagon of Slovenia and Luka and everything for a couple of weeks. And I know there's probably a lot of Slovenian fans that are like, y'all didn't care about us before the Olympics. And I'm like, hey, I was right there with you. But it was so much fun to jump on that bandwagon and watch those games. And what a fun team to root for. A team that tried so hard and hustles. And obviously we love Luka. So thank you. It was so much fun. And I think I'm going to leave my Slovenia flag up.
Yeah, heck yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to echo everything Isaac just said. Thank you for letting us on the bandwagon. I do want to break down this game a little bit, though, because there is some stuff in here I wanted to talk about, break down how Slovenia ended up losing this game. We'll talk about that. We'll break down all that, and we will get into Lauri Markkenen today. It is a big topic right now. There's some reports, rumors that the Mavericks are targeting Lauri Markkenen. He's definitely available. He's taken down all the Chicago Bulls mentions of any kind on his social media, so that's usually a sign somebody's on the way out, and they've obviously replaced him several times over with all the talent they've added. So we'll talk about him for sure. So let's talk about this game. Australia ends up beating Slovenia, and if you just looked at the box score, you just looked at the score, you're like, okay, 107-93. You're like, okay, well, they just dominated them. It wasn't really anywhere close. But man, Slovenia, for everything that went wrong in this bronze medal game, I thought they fought. I thought they fought insanely hard in this game, and I was proud to watch them. I was proud to see them try their hardest against this Australian team that is just like really tough to play against. Yeah. They have these wings. The Exum, Matisse Thybulle, Joe Ingles wing trio is really tough to play against. They're just all over the place. Their arms and limbs and just stuff all over. There's so many turnovers in this game. Like, honestly, if Slovenia would have just cut down on some turnovers, this would have been a completely different game. They had 17 turnovers in the game. Luka had 8 of them, and Australia only had 10 turnovers. Like, that was kind of the big changing point in this game between the two teams, at least, because they were just all over the place. Their defense and at the rim and on the perimeter and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Australia tough to play against. And then obviously Patty Mills. I mean, Patty Mills, 42 points, 0 assists in this game, 42 points, like the Kobe special, 4 of 15 from 3. So he wasn't really hitting from 3 that well. He hit like one deep one and then a couple others. And then 5 of 31 from the field. So basically, all he was doing was just pulling up from mid-range.
Iverson stat line right here.
He was doing nothing else. He was just scoring in the mid-range, and he didn't really even go to the free throw line that much, if I remember. 8 of 10 from the free throw line. So he did go a couple times there, but yeah, he was doing a ton of damage in the mid-range, and Slovenia just had no answer for it.
Yeah, this was the cool thing about this game, that even though we wanted Slovenia to win, you knew that Australia had, they wanted a medal too. It's like they never
medaled.
Yeah. So either way, one of these teams were going to walk away with their first medal. So it kind of lessened the sting a little bit, seeing Luka and them lose. It hurt. I hate seeing Luka when he's upset. I think it did for me a little bit just to see an Australia team that these guys, especially with some vets on there and Patty and Ingles and those guys, not have ever gotten a medal before, and they're a fun team to watch. And how much is Josh Green going to rub this medal in Luka's face?
The one he did not play in.
Luka's going to be like, you didn't even deserve it. You didn't even play.
I don't remember him. He didn't play a single minute in this game.
Rough day for the crowd that says that, hey, in order to win games, Josh Green has to play. Rough day for you guys.
Yeah, it was very clear, though, that, like, I think they said Patty Mills and Joe Ingles have played in 4 Olympics now. It was very clear that they've played in a bunch more Olympics, and that we're just a more experienced, more talented team than Slovenia at a certain level. Luka finished with 22 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, had those 8 turnovers, like I said, 7 of 20 from the field, 3 of 13 from 3. It was just not going well from him from deep. He was still kind of dealing with the hand, I guess, and then the conditioning, all the stuff we talked about in the game before the France game was still there in this game for sure. So he's getting a much needed rest. Prepelic, 18 points, 7 boards. I thought he was their second best player. He was really stepping up for them, and they just needed one more guy to get into like that 15 to 18 kind of range, and they just couldn't find one.
Yeah, Luka. It felt like Luka was kind of going downhill a little bit
the whole time.
And so I think for Mavs fans and for probably the Mavericks too, it's time for a much needed break. Definitely
time for a break for sure. Prepelic had 18 points. Mike Tobey finished with 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. They were really breaking. Australia was doing all the stuff, trapping and doubling Luka on the ball and all that kind of stuff. And Mike Tobey was breaking a couple of those at the free throw line. That was really working for him. The pick and roll again was working a little bit for him. This is a real chippy game too. You had the unsportsmanlike foul on Dante Exum, like early in the late in the first quarter, and then Luka got some free throws off of that. You had Luka with a tech going into halftime, so he finished with 5 techs in 6 games or something like that. 4 techs in 5, like just
my man.
He only had one game without a tech in the Olympics. Like
this
on brand.
This was also a matchup of like who's on deck. I think of Spain. They have some younger talent, but we're going to see the Gasals leave. And, I don't know what Ibaka's status moving forward is. And Rubio's getting older. And then what happens with France moving forward? They'll be back, but, a large portion of that crew will be a little older too. I think it's both of these teams that we're talking next Olympics. We're talking Paris, that I think a lot of people is going to be talking about Australia. If Ben Simmons is playing for them at that point, they're bringing back Thibault. What will Josh Green be? Will Patty, Ingles, and those guys still play? Exum? And then
who's the guy the Spurs drafted? I thought he was pretty good in this game. Yeah,
the big dude. I probably said that wrong, and then Slovenia. Luka's going to be back too. So I think that was the cool part about this too. Is this was the matchup of the 2 teams on deck for Paris.
The hard part about that is Patty Mills was obviously the best player on this team, and he's 32. So by the time that Olympics rolls around, 36, like he's probably Olympic mellow at that point.
Well, Josh Green will be there, so
he'll be filling in for him. The one thing I do want to focus on this game, like fourth quarter, this is why I said that I was proud to see him fight and to get back into it. Fourth quarter, 8 minutes and 25 seconds left. Australia had their largest lead of the game at that point. It was 14 points. Australia was up 81-67. Slovenia then went on a 13-2 run and ended up closing it to just 3 points with 6 minutes and 18 seconds left. Like, they really fought back in this. It wasn't just that Australia got out to a big lead and they just held it. Slovenia really fought back, and it was great to see.
Yeah, it's just a super bummer because we watched this team and we got so excited, and they were gelling so much, and the chemistry, and I think everybody read into the USA stuff like, man, are they vulnerable? Can somebody knock them off?
Who read that stuff was Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he did.
Kevin Durant read all that stuff.
What about Kevin Durant?
I don't know if he read into it, but he read the stuff.
Kevin Durant on his Instagram actually calling out Slovenia. They had Slovenia over us. And but
they never played Slovenia, so I don't know if they can say that.
It's just a bummer that this team couldn't come away with a medal. But
it was
they're not going anywhere. I think they'll be back. They'll be back.
Definitely. Yeah, I think this team will for sure be back. The last thing, I noted on my notes, third quarter, 50 seconds left. Luka finally attacks the rim, gets an and one. I think that was the first. I could be wrong, but I think that was the first time Luka actually attacked the rim in this game. If that tells you anything about Luka's status and then the status of the Australian defense. Like just the first time he attacked the rim it felt like he was saving it, and then he finally attacked the rim. It just wasn't enough at the end there. It was a wild game there. Again, Patty Mills, 42 points. That'll get you. That'll get you right there.
New Brooklyn net.
Luka, though, yeah, good for them, I guess. Luka named to the Olympics All-Star 5. I guess that's a thing. Cool.
I didn't know that was a thing until now.
Adam Morris and I were talking about him on Locked On NBA on Friday, and he said Luka's been the best part of the Olympic basketball. And I was like, I think that's true. I think if you look at all the teams that played and everything, was Luka the best part of it, the most exciting thing to watch?
Yes. Kevin
Who was
Durant's
better?
right. Kevin Durant's right there with him.
I guess.
I mean, I think, I just think KD solidified himself as the best USA player. Winning 3 golds, basically 30 points in all 3 gold medal games. I mean, USA does not even get close to a gold medal without KD. And
no, he was insane.
He put a team of all-stars and a stacked team on his back and said, I will take you to a gold. So, but I think he's right there with Luka, though.
Speaking of Slovenia, it was announced or reported by Mark Cuban. It was essentially announced because we heard it from so many different sources all at once. But it was reported by did I say Mark Cuban? I meant Mark Stein. It was reported by Mark Stein.
I was like, don't even look up Cuban.
No, I wrote the wrong thing. It was reported by Mark Stein that Mark Cuban, Jason Kidd, Nico Harrison, Michael Finley, and
guess.
Dirk Nowitzki himself are going to Slovenia to give Luka Doncic and to essentially force him to sign this 200 plus.
Is this the Clippers and DeAndre again?
$1 million. Yeah, they're going to hold him in there. They're going to hold him in a house, and they're all going there to get Luka to sign his extension, which is absolutely wild. So hopefully they get him to sign the extension. So then, should I do it?
Should you do it?
Is it time? Should I do it?
I think it's time.
If you didn't watch that on YouTube, I would recommend going back and watching that on YouTube.
It's gonna be a recurring bit anytime Nick wants to play Luka Doncic.
Coming up, we're going to get into Lauri Markkanen. Got to talk about it. It's the big topic right now on Mavs Twitter and all over the place. I got literally hundreds of responses about Markkanen tweets today. So that's what we'll be getting into next. So we'll get into that coming up. But before we do, I got to tell you about Stat Hero. Did you know that 85% of people who play daily fantasy sports lose? 85%. That's a lot of percent. That's a huge percentage of people that 85% of the people that listen to this podcast don't lose. They're winners. So if you want to be a winner, more so than you already are, it's not that surprising. Go to Stat Hero. It's the first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the players in control and winning within reach. Here's how it works. Stat Hero shows you their lineups and dares you to beat them. It's you versus the house. You're basically playing a game of blackjack against them. You go head to head in a fantasy matchup. You name your stakes, winner take all. You have the advantage. Stat Hero is showing you their unique lineups ahead of time. They're showing you their lineups already. No one else is doing that right now. You're in total control. Stat Hero is the daily fantasy sports the way that it's meant to be. One-on-one. Play Stat Hero now and change the odds. Go to stathero.com/lockedon. Sign up for a free account, and right now you can get 3 times back on your first play. They're giving you 300% match to go to stathero.com/lockedon. Again, stathero.com/lockedon. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into Lauri Markkanen. This is the big conversation right now on my Mavs Twitter and just a lot of people probably all over the internets about Lauri Markkanen. The report started with Kevin O'Connor on the Mismatch podcast from The Ringer. Quote, one other team to watch for with Markkanen is the Dallas Mavericks. I've heard they also have interest, so there's some sign and trade possibilities involving him and Charlotte and Dallas. Okay, so Lauri Markkinen, if you're starting to try and think of, well, first of all, let's start here. What's the benefit of bringing a Lauri Markkinen in for some people that haven't watched him or don't know necessarily a lot about him? Who is Lauri Markkinen? Why would the Mavericks be interested and be showing interest in him?
Well, he was 7th overall pick in the 2017 draft. He was the main, centerpiece of that Jimmy Butler deal for Chicago and Minnesota
As a draft pick.
as the draft pick. Yeah. So he's in the same, draft class as Lonzo, those guys, Dennis Smith Jr., Ntilikina, a bunch of these dudes that are right there going into that, first extension coming out of the rookie deals. So for Chicago, he hasn't had.
I'm having all kinds of flashbacks of our draft profiles and us talking about him. Like, can they bring him to be Dirk's replacement? Is that too much of a? And then all of a sudden they trade for Kristaps Porzingis and try to do the exact same thing.
Exactly. For him, he's 24. It obviously didn't work out in Chicago, but for like what he is now, and especially at this point in free agency, he's expressing, there's multiple, reports out there saying that he doesn't want to be back in Chicago. He said that he doesn't want to be back in Chicago. Like you alluded to with the social media and all this stuff, he wants a new home. There's also a report how many months ago that said he was interested in coming to Dallas and he wanted to come to Dallas, play with Luka and KP and the guys. So my whole thing with Markkinen is, and I even said on the last podcast, I thought it was kind of crazy that he's still out there because this is a guy you swing for. It's like you swing for a guy like this. He's 24. It didn't work out for his team. His team is not like a sucky team to where they just have money just to throw around and to swing again for a guy like Markkinen because
they threw it all around already.
Well, they did, but they're going all in to win as much as they like. They had to do it with DeRozan and Lonzo and like all they just, traded for Vucevic and all that. And I get it. If Markkinen was, an A+ talent, they would have, made it happen. But if a guy's 24, he's a 40%, 3-point shooter at his size. And you're saying, man, you could swing for him and it not be $20 million a year. Sign me up. I'm all in on let's take a swing for Lauri Markkinen, especially if it's around like the $10-12 million range. And if it's a sign and trade, it has to be 3 years. So if you're saying, man, you could do a sign and trade for Lauri Markkinen for like 10, 12, 13 million over the course of 3 years, I would take that swing.
Especially since a sign and trade, the second 2 years don't have to be the second and the third year don't have to be guaranteed, right? They can be partially guaranteed. So there's a lot of different options you have with that. I'm not sure that they would come up in this scenario, but that would be an option for the Mavericks. So now the big question is, so what would a trade look like for Lauri Markkinen? By the way, I just want to explain, Lauri Markkinen, 7 feet tall. He's like, he's basically Porzingis, but without the potential for defense, which Porzingis has had in the past. He's a pretty good 3-point shooter, shot 40% this past year, but the 3 years before that, he combined to shoot, he combined to shoot like 35%. Yeah, just about 36% from 3. And so he's a pretty decent 3-point shooter. He averaged 18.7 points a game his second year in the league. And he's an okay rebounder, but pretty terrible rebounder, actually. So it's like, you're like, oh, this is Porzingis. Yeah, there's a lot of Porzingis in his game for sure. And so what would a trade package look like for Lauri Markkinen? And then we can get into the merits of it.
Well, I think any type of sign and trade thing, where it's Markkinen or anybody, Schroeder or whoever, it has to be Dwight Powell.
And one more thing, he's a restricted free agent. This is like all the rookies in Dennis Smith Jr.'s class with Lonzo and all of them, they are restricted free agents. They offered him the qualifying offer. He accepted it. And now they're like, okay, well, we could sign him, or he could just take the qualifying offer like Nerlens did and be there for that 1 year on that low number for the qualifying offer and then just leave after this upcoming year. But instead they're wanting to trade him. So what you would have to do is a sign and trade. So there's the only way that they can acquire him is a trade. I think there's some people still that think that they can.
There's a world that Chicago just renounces his rights and lets him walk. But
the Mavericks couldn't sign him to the number that he'll want.
True. Yes. Yeah. Very true. It's because, and we didn't cover this either, because the Reggie Bullock deal became official. So with the Reggie Bullock deal becoming official, I know this has already been covered too by a lot of reporters. Dallas is operating over the cap. We've talked about it before. So therefore, Bullock's deal goes into the full MLE. So there is no sign and trade possibilities with New York and trade exception, all that stuff. So for Markkinen, it starts with Dwight Powell. Then you're looking in to the Willie thing. They don't want Willie, they're not going to want Willie in that deal. So I think it comes down to either Dwight Powell and Dorian, or are you looking at something around like Maxi with, Willie? It also depends on like what his number is that somebody's signing him for. What is he willing to take? Is he willing to take a 3 for 30 type of deal? Is he like, probably not, because every indication why he's still out there is because he wanted more money, kind of like Oubre, kind of like Schroeder. So that's the, is he willing to take 12? Is it 15? And that depends on, and that kind of determines what you have to put in there to match the money wise if you're Dallas.
Yep. And so it would have to be a Maxi, a Dorian, a somebody with a little bit of value to go back to.
One of those dudes would have to be in it, probably.
I think, yeah. And Dwight Powell probably to make the money work, right? You throw him in there because he has 11 million. So all of a sudden you're adding these together. The other option is if the Bulls want to do right by Markkenen and the Maverick, and Markkenen would take this number, trade him for the traded player exception from Josh Richardson. That would be, I think, the Mavericks' best option. You keep all these guys. You don't have to trade them. You bring in Markkenen. Now, you have a different issue. You have 6 centers now. You'd have to do something else with all these centers, but at least you would have Markkenen and keep Dorian, Maxi, and all them. So that is a small possibility, I believe, too.
Small possibility. You have to convince him of that. That's how New Orleans would take him in too. I think Mark Stein reported that yesterday on Sunday that, New Orleans had shown interest, but they have a larger trade exception because they did the, Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams type deal. So I think theirs is around like 17 million, something like that. So, they could do the 15, for Markkinen type thing. For Dallas, it's like, hey, are you willing to take 10 a year?
And you cannot combine a traded player exception with a player. So you couldn't do like, hey, let's do Lauri Markkinen for 21 million a year and combine the traded player exception with Dwight Powell's contract. You can't do that. You can do the traded player exception in different chunks. You could do 5 million for somebody, 5 million for somebody else, but you cannot combine that with a different player. So that's the situation with Lauri Markkinen. It would have to be a trade. So coming up, let's get into some of the trades and what they would look like, the merits of them, and why I'm still a little skeptical. Maybe people have talked me into it, but I'm still skeptical that I would trade for Lauri Markkinen for one of the Mavericks role players. But before we do, let's talk about Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They're delicious. I eat one of them every single day. There's a new flavor, Rocky Road, right now with marshmallow and almond. Go check it out. It's still somehow available. These new flavors sell out so quickly. So go check it out. BuiltBar.com, Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your next order with Built Bar. 150 calories, 17 grams of protein, 6 grams of sugar in that bar. I guarantee you it's delicious, covered in 100% chocolate. They're great for you. They have great fiber as well. Good for a keto diet if you're trying to do that. They're just great if you're trying to bide your time between meals, basically. If you're sitting in your office, like, I need something, go ahead and get a Built Bar. Get a box. Isaac is doing it right now.
Well, I'm just saying that's the thoughts I have. I'm like, man, I'm hungry. I need a Built Bar. And
boom, get you a Built Bar. Use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off at BuiltBar.com. Also want to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.ag is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action right now. Let's see if they have any. They have a couple of, they have NBA regular season MVP open right now. That is going to open, I think, October 19th. Luka. Plus 450. He is the favorite again this year. The second year in a row, he's going to be the favorite to be the season MVP going into the year. Can you guess who number 2 is on BetOnline, Isaac Harris?
Oh, I'm going to say Giannis.
Giannis is number 3 at plus 700. There's somebody that has just slightly better odds than Giannis. He plays in the Western Conference. He has won several MVPs before.
Really? Is it LeBron?
Steph Curry, plus 650 is the number 2 favorite according to BetOnline. Kevin Durant, plus 750. Joel Embiid, plus 850. LeBron, plus 900 there. And there are no other Mavericks on the list. No, there's not anymore. No, not even anymore. Oh, Porzingis, plus 2,000. No, plus 25,000 for Kristaps Porzingis. So
first healthy offseason.
You go bet on Kristaps Porzingis, and you bet $100 for Kristaps Porzingis to win the MVP, and he does. You would win $25,000 if I'm doing my math right. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
It's free money right there.
Same odds as Kyle Lowry. Bring in Kyle Lowry. He's got the same MVP odds as Porzingis.
Okay.
Drew Holiday, same odds. John Wall, the same odds. Malcolm Brogdon, Michael Porter Jr., Vucevic. Nikola Vucevic is the same MVP odds as Kristaps Porzingis, plus 25,000. Go there. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. Get a 50% welcome bonus to first deposit. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more Lauri Markkenen. We've been talking about him. Okay, so my big question today on Twitter that got a ton of responses. Would you trade Maxi Kleber in some kind of a package for Lauri Markkenen? This is the ultimate, like, go for the risk for the higher talent and trade for something that would help you maybe win now with Maxi. There's a lot of people that are way down on Maxi, but would you do that?
Yes, I would. And that's tough for me to say because I love Maxi. I love him to death. But here's my thing. I think as the team is currently constructed, Maxi's not in the closing lineup. I think you're looking at a closing lineup of Luka, Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, and Porzingis. I think that's your closing unit. So if you're telling me that if Maxi's going to be on the bench for the last 5 to 7 minutes of the game, I would much rather swing with a bench player for a 5 year younger Lauri Markkenen. And that's my thing, because I think Markkanen's upside, like Maxi's 29, Markkanen's 24. And I think as the 40% three-point shooter, he is super athletic. And what he could be, especially moving forward, playing with the Luka Doncic, we do this all the time. But what point guards has he played with in Chicago in his career? And it's like, what could he be with Luka Doncic? What could he be like how what's the percentage of him to KP? Is he 85% KP? Is he, like, especially now because with KP's defense stuff, but that's before the first healthy offseason that's happening right now. What will be what
I'm gonna ding every time you do that. It's like a Pavlovian thing. I'm just gonna
what's the percentage he is of KP? I think that's one of the questions too. It just, for me, it comes down to 5 years younger than Maxi. I think his upside's higher than Maxi. I would take the swing with Markkenen.
See, this is where it's hard for me, because you start thinking, somebody asked a good question on Twitter, is what can Markkenen do that Maxi Kleber can't, and vice versa. So if you're just looking at, okay, what can this player bring for next season? Because a lot of people are frustrated because the Mavericks have not gotten better. We've talked a lot about how the Mavericks probably got 10% better with their free agency moves, and we wanted them to get 33%.
They definitely got better. They definitely got better.
For sure. No, what I'm saying, we've been talking about the Mavericks got 10% better. We wanted them to get 25, 33% better.
For sure.
Does Markkenen change that percentage any for next season? And that's kind of a big question for me, because you're going year to year and you're trying to figure out, does Lauri Markkenen change it for next season, or then 3 seasons from now, would he add anything? Would he increase the odds of the Mavericks winning a playoff series and eventually winning a title? And for me, it's hard to see the long-term benefits of a Lauri Markkenen, especially if you're going to keep Kristaps Porzingis. If they trade him, then with Lauri Markkenen, you have the same kind of positional difficulties. But I do understand going for a talent like this, a guy that can hit the three like he does, that can come off the bench and can score a little bit. But a couple of things these are reasons why I'm a little bit skeptical. For the first 3 years in Lauri Markkanen's career, he played 78% of his time at the 4. He played a lot with Wendell Carter Jr., with Robin Lopez, with Daniel Gafford, with Bobby Portis, with Cristiano Felicio. Like, he played with all those guys, a bunch of minutes with those guys. And that's when he scored a bunch. When he was given the ball, he was playing against other 4s. He was scoring over them. And his first couple years there, so that 18-19 season, when he averaged just about 19 points a game. So that's the season you look at, you're like, okay, this guy can be a secondary scorer. He can be another scorer for you. He was shooting 6.3 field goal attempts per game on catch and shoot shots. And he was shooting about 3 pull-up shots a game. So he was creating a little bit on his own. He was catching shooting a lot, but
because he had to, he was pulling up.
This past year, his percentages all went up. His field goal percentage, his three-point percentage went up to 40%, all that. His pull-up numbers were almost 0. So he went from 3 pull-up attempts per game to just about 0. And then 6 catch and shoot attempts per game, which is about the same as that one season. So he's only doing catch and shoot stuff. So he's being set up by other people as well. So you're not bringing him in with the idea that he can go and create his own offense and do all that, which is what the Mavericks wanted. They have a lot of these guys that can catch and shoot and do all that kind of stuff and have to be set up by somebody else. So just understand that he is not that type of guy. So that doesn't mean I don't want him. I'm just saying these are the things you have to think about. And last year, I talked about 78% his first 3 years at the 4. This past year, they moved into 51% of his time was at center. So he's playing center in these lineups when he's been more efficient and when he's been a player that you can see in a Mavericks lineup. So now all of a sudden, if he's a center, now you have 6 centers. Maybe you trade one of them for Lauri Markkenen. You have to now figure out how to play him with somebody else, with maybe one of those other centers, or you don't play one of those centers. It's hard positionally to fit him in, especially with Kristaps Porzingis right now. And so I'm not sure he's the greatest fit. However, I still, again, understand trading him, going for the upside, the younger, more talent, younger, all that stuff. Like, I completely understand that, but I'm skeptical about Maxi. Now, if it's Dwight Powell and you're just doing Dwight Powell and like Trey Burke for him, 100%, I'm with it. Go for it. Do it. Like, I'm in it. If it's Dorian, if it's like Dwight Powell and Dorian, I'm even more skeptical of it, because then you're trading for a center with one of the few wings the Mavericks do have that would play and would be in a closing lineup, like Isaac mentioned. And so I'm even more leery of doing a deal like that. Doesn't mean I wouldn't do it, but at this point, I'm still on the fence about it.
If you're Markkinen, you're looking at options out there and you're saying, okay, I played the best at the 5 last year. Was there a situation that I could play a stretch 5, that somebody that has a stretch 5 who could possibly be doing some load management? So shout out to our friend Lauren Gunn, friend of the pod, who actually, put out some great notes about the Markkinen potential fit in Dallas. And she made a point in that of saying having Markkinen would allow KP to continue to load manage. It's like, we know KP's not going to play all the games next year. Like, I don't care how healthy of an offseason he has and how great he's feeling coming camp. Like, he's still going to be on probably minute stuff. There's going to be some load management in there. What better of a dude to have to play his role than freaking Lauri Markkanen? Just say, hey, let's just go get buckets with, Luka out there. So that's the type of thing for me. I like his upside. He's obviously not going to be the secondary creator guy that's saying, hey, go get me buckets and help Luka in that scenario. He's not that guy. But if they walk out of this offseason, they get Markkinen on top of that and they swing and it's like a decent price, then yeah, playing next to Luka. I mean, for his first couple seasons in the league, he played with Chris Dunn. And then, he played with Kobe, he played with Kobe White last year.
Saturansky.
So yeah, I'm about Markkinen in Dallas for the right price.
Another question I have, and again, these are just questions. I'm not like, no, I would never want Markkinen. Like,
why do you hate him?
I'm not. I know this is what somebody was like. All you want to do is keep Maxi and Dwight Powell. I was like, hold on, I didn't say anything about Dwight Powell. Not respect to Dwight Powell. I would trade Dwight Powell for Lauri Markkinen for sure. With Lauri Markkinen, if he hits, right? So we're talking about this upside, this potential. If he hits, if he becomes I don't know, what's his highest upside? Like a fringe all-star player? It's really hard for me to imagine him becoming an all-star, especially in the Western Conference. But if he hits and becomes a fringe player, he's Danilo Gallinari a little bit. Without there's still some of that dribble stuff, maybe less pull-up stuff than Danilo does, but like, he's that kind of a player. If he hits and he's that, where does he fit with the Mavericks? Does that make Kristaps Porzingis even more expendable? You can't play those guys together in meaningful basketball, I don't think, because Lauri Markkanen's not rebounding the ball for you very well, and he's not playing defense for you very well either, which Porzingis isn't right now either, but he's not doing those two things, which are two things the Mavericks desperately need. And to get a guy that would play the 5, that would not defend and not rebound, would just be like adding up the problems the Mavericks have and like multiplying them even more. He'd add some things for sure with his shooting, but I'm trying to think of, if he became that 20 point per game scorer that you want, what other problems arise and how could you solve them at that point?
Well, I think you also have the, down the line, if there are plans for KP not to be in the future of Dallas, then you have the replacement. Like there's a world too, to where they pull off a sign and trade for Markkinen. Markkinen comes in, he comes off the bench for Dallas and kills it. And we're all watching KP kind of struggle defensively in the paint, or let's just say KP's not shooting very well. Like, those rumblings are going to start pretty dang quick within the fan base of, are we sure Markkanen's not better than KP? I could just see that right now, 3 weeks into the season. And
just for the sheer competition of it, that would be the upside for Porzingis. Like, just that he has to step up because someone else is coming for his spot.
But that's the type of thing. Like, what if he does hit and now you have him on a contract that's like 10 to 14 million and he's amazing. He's what you thought coming out of the draft. And then that is the final thing where okay, if KP has rehabbed his image and his health and his value across the league, and they trade KP for a wing or whatever it is, now you have that eventual replacement in Markkinen. So
the thing is, yes, if he hits, you could do that. However, you have the exact same problems that you have right now.
I'm not saying keep all the centers. Obviously, there's some
No,
moves
I'm not
that
even
needs
saying
to be
roster
had,
construction. I'm saying playing like basketball, like when they're playing basketball. If Markkinen hits, you have the exact same basketball problems that you have with Porzingis playing right now.
If he hits, you're saying Markkanen's ceiling is what KP is right now.
No, I'm not saying that. Well, 20 points a game, that's what Porzingis was last year. Let's not pretend like Porzingis was trash all year.
He wasn't. No, he wasn't trash all year. But I think we can still acknowledge that he really struggled defensively and moving and athletically. But
is Markkinen going to solve those problems? That's my thing. Markkanen's not going to solve those problems anyway.
I think he's better athletically than KP right now.
Okay, so that's a little bit of an upgrade, but you're not adding like a defensive.
You're not adding shot blocking, right? Like the potential of
shot
KP
blocking. You're not adding rebounding.
Anchor. Yeah, that
you're getting
not giving you that.
A better spot up 3-point shooter, which is great. I'm for that 100%. But that's one of my big questions. My big questions are: is he really giving you that much of an upgrade? Is it worth sending away some defensive players for him?
Okay,
and
so if KP gets back defensively as a defensive anchor, why can't Markkinen play with him?
Ooh, because the Mavericks could Markkinen.
Now you have shooters everywhere.
I still think if Markkinen plays the 4, he's not gonna be able to guard any of the 4s in the West, right? Like Kawhi just played the 4 for the Clippers. He's not playing any minutes guarding Kawhi, right? So it's things like that. If you're talking about these high level,
but you're paying him 10 to like if you're paying him at 20-something million a year, I get it. Like we were just having a conversation like Tim, like I think Tim comes back with the agreement that he's a starter, but like if Tim got moved to the bench making $17 million a year, then why can't Markkinen come off the bench making 13 a year? I don't think he has to be locked in as a starter. That's something else Lauren Gunn put too. She's like, hey, he doesn't have to be a starter if he comes in.
It's true. I wouldn't even expect him to be one, to be honest. But if you want him, if you're banking on him to hit at some point, you're like, all right, I'm going for the upside. Okay, well then what would the upside mean?
Markkinen and Brunson in the second unit?
That's nice. But then all of a sudden you're talking about his upside being a nice bench player.
A nice bench player with the potential to be something more if more roster.
No, I'm saying he hits his potential. Yeah. You're like, oh, he's a nice bench player with Brunson.
No. If he hits his potential, he's more than a bench player.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's hard for me.
How do you hate Markkinen?
I guess I do hate Markkinen. No, I really don't hate Markkinen. I'm saying.
At the 37th minute, let me throw you a 3-team trade.
Let's go.
Markkinen to Charlotte.
Yeah. Okay. So the Mavs don't get Markkinen. This all the talk we just had for the last 30 minutes is out.
Exactly. Markkinen to Charlotte. Terry Rozier to Dallas.
Okay.
Dwight and Dorian to Chicago.
Probably
have to add in like Trey Burke or something like that
to make the money work.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you have Terry Rozier and Tim Hardaway Jr. fighting for these extra minutes, or is Terry Rozier
that's your secondary creator,
your super sixth man? Could he play with Brunson? You're like, okay, well,
no. Rozier and Luka in the backcourt with Tim, with Reggie Bullock on the wing. KP.
You're playing all 4 of those players.
I think there's lineups you could throw Reggie out there.
Rozier's not like a stiff on defense, like he's got a good wingspan and all that, but that's tough. Like Luka and Tim are your wing defenders with Bullock as like your 4.
No, Rozier's better defensively than Tim.
That's what I'm saying. He's not a stiff, but you have a small guard, and then you have Tim and Luka and Bullock like at the between the 2 and 4.
Well, in that scenario, I mean, you can replace Bullock with Maxi, and it's Maxi, KP, Rozier, Tim. I like Terry Rozier a lot. So.
You fixed your second, like he would add another scorer for sure. That's what you want. Yeah. You're just still making your defense worse. Even still,
we can't get Kyle Lowry.
How can it get worse?
Or can we?
Right, and I understand the exasperated, like we have to upgrade somewhere, right? Like we have to upgrade somewhere, but there are still, and I tweeted this today, there are still, if you make a trade just to make an upgrade, or just to make a quote unquote upgrade, just to make a move, just to do something, just to shake things up, it can end up being the Seth Curry Richardson thing all over again. What if Markkinen comes here and he doesn't work, and he doesn't play well like off the ball, and he doesn't, like Brunson can't hit him?
What'd you give up?
You gave up Maxi, who's a solid role player, or Dorian, who's a solid role player right now, who's playing a role
off the bench. Like that's my whole thing with Maxi of like, if you gave up Maxi and it didn't work, I would hate that. But you're also talking about somebody who's coming off the bench, probably in your closing lineup.
Maxi still gives you lineup flexibility. You can roll him out as a small ball 5 against some of these lineups. He can. True. I mean, they asked him to guard Kawhi for a reason last year. Now he didn't do well at that. We wouldn't expect him to, but they asked him to.
He had injuries though. I want to give him he was definitely not healthy in that.
He was not 100%. We've done that now 2 years in a row with Maxi in the playoffs, which is unfortunate. I mean, we have, right? Like, yeah. I'm obviously not down on him because I'm having trouble saying I would trade him for Lauri Markkenen. But yeah, so you have some lineup flexibility with him there. He gives you some more options that you need in a playoff series that I don't think Lauri Markkenen would give you. Like, what's Lauri Markkenen giving you in a playoff series? That's what we're talking about right now. We're like, let's boil it down. Does Lauri Markkenen play in a playoff series like the finals that we just saw?
Yeah.
Dario Saric did. So yeah, I guess Frank Kaminsky did a little bit. You can play him a little bit.
He could guard Cam Johnson.
Can Maxi play in that finals? Yes.
Yeah.
I can answer that question. Maxi and Dorian can play. Lauri Markkenen, you're like, yeah, he can play a little bit, I guess. That's my big issue.
Gotta make it to those finals first.
If it happens, I'm excited for it. I'll see it. I'll see it through and all that. We'll be excited to see how it fits. But I'm skeptical.
I still think secondary creator is their number one goal right now. We got
for sure
who they get.
Yeah, which we'll get into talk about that tomorrow.
Getting to talk about it tomorrow.
We'll talk about that tomorrow, but we'll leave you with this.